Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits for May 2025. Now, this is going to be an episode that talks about nothing but the major transits. We're not going to do an hour by hour breakdown for the people that are going to be listening to one of these for the very first time. This is more focused on the general theme in regards to the continuous energy of where we have been, as well as mentally putting into focus where we are at now. Because whenever it comes to May, in some ways we can be like, oh, it's already May. And then in other ways, it's like, oh my God, it's only May? What? Because for so many of us, the gauntlet obstacle course energy that we have been in since July has made 2024 and 2025 kind of run together. And it feels like every week of 2025 so far has been an entire month on its own, because there has been so much rampant change from all of the retrograde crap we have been in. It's been so fun. Now, we got to recap a little bit about April and put some things into perspective as to what has put us where we are at right now. Because April was a mixed bag. The first half of April, we were wrapping up the retrograde nonsense. Mercury was retrograde, Venus was still retrograde, and it all culminated to an ending right in conjunction with the Libra full moon. Like Libra full moon perfected, retrograde ended. They were an hour apart. It was crazy. Venus is retrograde. And there was so much understanding and release that was there. And then the last 2 weeks of the month felt like trying to dig ourselves out of rubble. It was trying to get out of the currents of water and finally break the surface so we could take a full gasp of air. And the last 2 weeks of the month of April again was trying to do exactly that. It was catching our breath. It was trying to get our bearings about us. And it was like looking around at all of the mess that has energetically been shaken up, going, where am I? What is this? What's going on? Because again, so much has changed. Over the last few days of April, we started to have some planets leave shadow. As we go through the month of May, we will have other planets leaving shadow. And as they leave shadow, we're going to start picking back up on prior themes, prior plans, prior topics, prior situations in a new light. And in a lot of ways, karmically, it's now time to handle those things, do those things, focus on those things, because again, what we were trying to do before was almost like putting the cart before the horse. That horse was not going to lead. That horse had not been halter broke. It was not prepared. That cart had a busted wheel and you didn't know about it. But the horse could sense something was wrong and I'm not touching it. Something has changed in a multitude of ways, again, since last year. Now, the reason I say in a lot of ways there's a karmic timing to what we're going into is because of one of the other things that encompassed the month of April. And that was the entire month, Saturn, the ruler of time, the ruler of karma and rules and boundaries, was in a conjunction to the North Node. And that vibration for a lot of people encompassed a lot of us getting our bearings about us, because where we landed, it was time for us to pick up on something, to focus, to do something that we weren't able to do before. And as we go into May, you're going to see this general theme again of stuff we were trying to do before, we thought we were going to get before, a plan that we had enacted before, yet simultaneously in a new place with new people, further into the process with a lot more experience, with a lot different know-how, yet still similar themes. Now, I know that sounds kind of wonky, but it's true. And I'll use one big one that has just occurred right as we're going into the month of May. And that was tied to the Mars Pluto oppositions. Now, the first Mars Pluto opposition happened back in November. We had the American election. And we all know what has happened since President Trump went into office. That's all I got to say about that. I don't care where you land on it. We've all seen it. And that has now put the American public far more in tune with even the political aspects of other countries. In the third and final Mars Pluto opposition, we had a similar theme, just a different country. We had an election for the Canadian Prime Minister. Mark Carney became the new Prime Minister, officially full-blown taking over for Justin Trudeau. We had a shift in power dynamics. And that was something that I was saying was going to be a part of that last little bit of April going into May. But I do want to be clear that it is a shift in power dynamics. I am not ready to say if it is a power struggle or not. I'm not saying anything to Canadians on that one. I'm just saying in general, I'm not going to say whether this shift in power is going to be a struggle yet or not, because we've had too much at play. And as we go through the month of May, a lot of this month is letting the dust settle. Now, whenever it comes to the octave of the vibration, we have been at like scorching the pan, high heat. Most of us have cooked. You're going to understand that reference. But then we walked away from the pan. We forgot it was cooking. We didn't catch up with it until the smell hit our nose 3 rooms into the house. Like we had to go back into the kitchen. The heat has been turned back down. It is not off. We are not done with anything. It is at a lower medium heat simmer. It's not boiling over anymore. We're trying to save the pan and salvage what we can. It's a medium simmer as we go into the month of May. Now, in a lot of ways through April, again, it felt like it was time to step into certain things, to do certain things, to go in a new direction because of how the frequency of Saturn and the North Node encompassed everybody. And we are still in that Saturn North Node vibration as we go into May. It's just not as exact as it was that third weekend of April. Some people were struggling with their new roles, the new responsibility. Some people have been struggling with the fact that their invincible dad is suddenly now in a wheelchair and they're having to do the things to take care of, dad or grandma or grandpa or somebody. They had an idea that the boss was always going to be in charge. And now we're like, who is in charge? I'm in charge. How did I get voted in? I didn't even apply. And suddenly you have no other choice but to step into some type of role or authority figure. And some part of you is like trying to just get your bearings about you. Others of you have seen other people step into new situations, step into some new form of authority, step into some new role that it feels almost predestined that they were meant to do. Step into something different. And you didn't even have to do anything but watch. It's so good to see you taking care of your parents, taking care of this new thing. It's so good to see you going into business for yourself. I always thought you were going to work for your dad, but no, now you're doing this. That's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. The shift in the focus has changed. But at the same time, because of the condition of Mercury, in some ways, Venus by the end of the month, Jupiter, and Mars at the beginning of the month, Uranus partway through the month, we're going to start picking back up on themes and topics that we were trying to do before, but for one reason or another, something didn't work out. Something didn't jive. Do it with the wrong person. We were trying to do it in the wrong place. We were trying to get it put together with the wrong equipment. Like there was something from before that didn't jive. And now, as we go into this new normal, in little ways, we're going to be able to start picking back up on what we wanted to do before, what we were trying to do before, but we lost support. We lost the funding. We lost certain connections. Certain things fell apart. Certain things fell to the wayside. And all throughout this month, we're going to have these interesting waves of nostalgia. At the same time, the new vibration. And there will still be like little bits of that surreal in it, because you're going to be talking to your new business partner, your new boss, or that new person, be like, oh yeah, I had this great idea last year, but they completely blew me off. They completely shut it down. It didn't work out. I started working on this last year, but I haven't been able to find the right people to show it to market it to. And then all of a sudden we're going to get into parts of this year and be like, oh yeah, now it's time. That wasn't the right person before. We weren't in alignment before. Now, going through the month of May, it's time. And for some of you, that's even going to take you into uncharted territory, because now it's time. So in a lot of ways, I want people to be anticipating the mix of new and old coming together in some strange element of synchronicity. And because we are producing something, because we are moving into something, and the idea is that we want it to last, for so many of us, it will last. There's a little asterisk next to that. The one difficulty of the last 2 weeks with Saturn going into the first of this month is Saturn is now in shadow. Even though all these other planets are leaving shadow and finally going into new areas of the sky, Saturn in some way, shape, or form, as well as Neptune, will be coming back to these areas of the sky later this year. Specifically, the last 2 months, 3 months, we'll say October, November, December, and it will continue to linger into January and February of next year. But by then, we're going to be in a better headspace. So let's be clear about that. There will be certain things that we start to do those last 2 weeks of April, this first round of energy in May, going into the new normal, that we will round back to. And some of us, when we round back to this, we're going to be ready to level it up. We're going to be taking our pyramid base, our new solid foundation, and we're going to be putting something extra on top of it. We're going to be able to pour the next layer of something. So I am thinking of like the layers of a pyramid, sharpening something to make it continue to grow and build. Others will start something now with a person that by the time we get to the end of the year, we will round back to it and be like, I learned so much, but this situation is not a forever situation. I needed to learn from this person. I needed to experience a little bit of this, but now I recognize for me to get to where I need to be, I'm going to actually have to do it at a different level in a different place. More people will be rounding back to level something up, but some people will realize there was a few things done in haste because we weren't seeing parts of the energy clearly. All of it is a learning lesson, no matter what. But we are going into the new vibration, the new normal. The month of May is the first full month of us in our new normal. And every month that will follow will feed off of this. Everything that will continue into this new normal will take about 1.5 years to fully set in. Because again, some parts of us will come back to what we're doing right now and realize, oh, that wasn't quite the right fit. I got to do 1 or 2 little tinkering. or you are just going to level it up depending on the situation. And we will again be a part of that next round in 2026, solidifying. So again, this month, moving forward to the end of the year, all the way into 2026, all of this timeline will take and be necessary to get accustomed, to get in conjunction with our new normal. I'm running out of words here. To get accustomed to it. That's what I was trying to get to. Okay. We're going to get into the transits. We're going to get into the month. And again, I'm not going to do this by hour. My main thing is I want to talk about the major transits as to what we're getting into. So we're going to start with May the 2nd. We got two things happening in May, in this first part of May. One, this is the third and final conjunction between Neptune and Venus. And this is simultaneous to Mars leaving shadow. And I think this too, is very important because Mars is hosting the Venus-Neptune conjunction. Now, the thing about Venus and Neptune is, again, this is their third and final one. And each one's been a little bit different. The first one happened back on February 1st. Venus was direct, Neptune was direct, but they were still in Pisces. Venus went into Aries, turned retrograde, came back. March 27th, Venus and Neptune retrograde conjunction, and then they surpassed each other. And Neptune ultimately moved into Aries a few days later. Venus had to continue, make a long-term conjunction to Saturn in the North Node, come back around. Right at the end of April is whenever Venus went into Aries and hit this conjunction to Neptune right as we start the month. There is something we wanted to do before. Note the pattern. We had a great idea of something we wanted to do back in February. That by the time we got to the end of the March, we realized some part of that wasn't as good as we thought it was. Something didn't jive. Something didn't click. Something wasn't clear, but we're a lot more clear about it now. We didn't vet something the right way. We were high hopes that everything was going to go great. And then whenever we got into the mess, the mix-ups, the meetings, the situations, we're like, there was an overpromise to underdeliver. And now we're going into something new, but we have more knowledge and more understanding. And in a lot of ways, whatever we're stepping into now with this third and final Venus-Neptune conjunction is also picking back up on something that we've been working on, or we were planning on doing, or we were thinking about last year when Mars turned retrograde. And that was December 6th. So stuff that we've been working on for a while, finally coming to a peak, finally coming into flourishing, finally kind of starting to happen. But again, something has changed on the horizon. Something has changed in the topics and in the situations. Okay. Now, 2 days later, on the 4th, Pluto is going to turn retrograde. So you see Pluto here, 3 degrees, 49 minutes, has this little prescription looking symbol that stands for retrograde. Pluto is now retrograde, and this is how he will be for about the next 5.5 months. Pluto retrograde. Now, the one thing that's different about this time with Pluto is his retrograde, his energy, it is completely in Aquarius. There's no more going back into Capricorn. So everything is very, very focused on what has changed again since Pluto went into Aquarius, and that was November of last year. There's a lot of topics, a lot of conversations, a lot of situations that have come through that have triggered fear and insecurity that in a lot of ways, now that all the shakeups are done with all the other retrogrades, we're starting to realize, I'm not scared of certain things anymore. There's been enough things that have happened that have let me know I don't need to be terrified. I don't need to be scared. I just need to let go of certain inhibitions to move forward. And Pluto turning retrograde really speaks to some releasing of inhibitions, releasing of fear, no longer letting certain power struggles happen. Now I'm going to put one little side note, because whenever we were having certain transits back in the the late March part, with we were having a multitude of little transits hitting Pluto all of a sudden. The one thing that I said back then also could have been plumbing issues. As we go through the first week, so to speak, of May, and I'm saying like May 1st through 7th, we could also get over some plumbing issues and finally have solutions for that. Just to be clear, if you're dealing with the more mundane forms of Pluto, but Pluto can be the mental power struggle, it can be the emotional power struggle, it could be traumatic physical abuse power struggles. But another way that it can come through is Pluto's the god of the underworld, and your plumbing is under the surface. There's that. Fun stuff. Okay. Moving along. On the 5th, Mercury is going to hit a sextile to Jupiter. So we're pretty close to it going exact right here. I got Mercury 22 degrees, 20 minutes in a sextile to Jupiter at 22 degrees, 19 minutes. Now, this isn't heavy. This is actually more directional. What I am looking at is, again, Mars is newly in an area of the sky that he was trying to get to before, but something stopped him. And now that we've got all of this stuff going on in Aries, which is Mars's sign, it's again like giving direction, giving information, revealing something that we weren't able to deal with before, that we couldn't get happening before because we were in some kind of a power dynamic. There was an issue before, and something didn't click, something didn't jive. And this has direction, this has information, this has logistics. It's something being communicated, it's something being taught, it's something being voiced between Mercury and Jupiter. But I'm paying attention to the fact that Mercury's hosting that Jupiter, and Mercury's being hosted by that Mars. Mars isn't playing a direct element into that. It's the host. It's the condition of the host. Okay. On the 6th, we got two things that are going to happen. Put this around 5:30, and this will kind of encompass both of them. Got two things. Again, Venus is going to go through her third and final sextile to Pluto. Simultaneously, Mercury is going to be going through a conjunction to Chiron. This is all going to happen later in the evening time. And again, Chiron is that wounded healer. Pluto having to deal with like wounds and trauma and abuse and power struggles when it's in its negative form, not necessarily the things always that we've overcome. This kind of speaks more to what steps we have taken, what plans we're willing to take to overcome. Now, again, this is the third and final sextile between Pluto and Venus, the third and final one. And each one has been a little different. The first one, Pluto was pushing an agenda, Venus was direct, trying to take something forward. And we had vibrations that spoke to trigger. The first one happened around February 7th, for those that actually do track your notes. The third and final one was the week that we had all of the little conjunctions to Pluto. And this is the week where people, if you had plumbing issues, like it tended to be that week. It was the week of March 21st, because we had Venus hit the sextile, the Sun hit the sextile, and Mercury Cazimi and Mercury hit the sextile, all to Pluto, just like boom, 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 boom. That week I brought up like plumbing issues. I didn't really bring up the plumbing issues before. Now that we have Venus in this final sextile, this one's different because Pluto's the one that's retrograde now. It doesn't have the same effect. We don't have the same fears. We're not dealing with the same struggle. And in a lot of ways, there's something that speaks to solutions. Given that Mercury, the ruler of our logical brain, is in that conjunction to Chiron, think of the actions that we take to create solutions, to overcome certain power struggles, how we've overcome certain situations. That speaks to what this vibration looks like for a lot of people. So this is not heavy. It doesn't have to be heavy. Anytime we have Pluto involved, there can be some heaviness, but in a lot of other ways, it's not necessarily heavy. It's more about, again, the different ways of overcoming. Okay. So you can see that here. Pluto, 3 degrees 49, Venus, 3 degrees 50. So we're just past. And then right here with Mercury and Chiron, We're just before the exact conjunction, but we can kind of anticipate there's going to be a lot of things being communicated, processes being talked about of, again, how we've dealt with some things in the past, even working in some place from the past that used to be a struggle, but because we went through that struggle, we gained a certain kind of experience. And now that experience is something that we can teach to someone else. That can be a lot of this vibration as well. Now, after the 6th, we don't have a whole lot going on for a couple of days until we get to the full moon in Scorpio. Now, that is going to go exact on the 12th in the middle of the day. So I'm going to bump this backwards a few hours. Yeah, that's close enough. So it goes exact at 11:55 a.m. I got it at 11:30. Here's the sun, 22 degrees, 11 minutes. Here's the moon, 21:59. So again, we're 20 minutes before it goes exact. It's perfectly fine. Now, whenever it comes to full moons, again, I pay attention to the conditions of the chart rulers. In this case, it's plural. There's more than one ruler. One is Pluto. I'm just going to talk about him real quick because Pluto just turned retrograde. We're a week into Pluto's retrograde. There's something that has changed. Now, in this time frame, Mercury has changed signs and actually gone into Taurus. And as Mercury has went into Taurus, that actually happened on the 10th. I just missed that. I apologize. For some people, whenever Mercury goes into Taurus, this is going to be an arrival of some kind of news, some kind of new information, some type of communication that impacts that full moon, because by the time we get to the full moon, Mercury is going to be squaring that Pluto. So the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th, they're going to be very correlated to one another because of this vibration. Pluto's square to Mercury. But Pluto is, again, retrograde. We're not having the same issues. We're not having the same power struggles. This can actually go back to whatever we were dealing with the month before, whenever the sun hit that square to Pluto. And that would have been Easter weekend, by the way. The timeline right around Easter, about something that happened before, some type of fear, some type of frustration, that we're now dealing with the same topic, but from a different perspective because whatever happened before is released. However, the other other host of this full moon is Mars. And Mars, again, is in new areas of the sky, taking on new vibration, working towards new things. And part of what can be coming to a peak in this full moon can have to do with like strengthening and empowering and overcoming, given the condition of Mars being in a new area of the sky. We're feeling certain fears fall away and voicing that we're no longer struggling with certain things because we are taking steps into a new direction, into a new path with a new concept in mind. And again, whatever is going on between the 10th and the 12th are going to be very correlated to one another. There can be an arrival of something new, some kind of new communication coming through, some kind of new person coming through that is helpful in getting to a better understanding to the new power dynamic in this full moon. And this can have a lot of emotional release, given, again, it is a full moon in Scorpio. But I do mean release. I don't mean this in the negative sense. It's more about overcoming than anything else. Okay. Now, after the full moon, we're going to get to the 16th. And there's a dynamic that really starts to shift once we get to the 15th and 16th. And the biggest one of those starts with Venus. Venus leaves shadow on the 16th. It's right around the midnight hour. So for some people, it'll be late on the 15th. Other people, it's going to be on the 16th. Venus is going to leave shadow. Again, things that we wanted to do before. Venus turned retrograde March 1st, but she was stationing at that 10-degree mark all through the last 2 weeks of February, stayed there through the first week and a half of March. We had something we were trying to do before, but a dynamic shifted. Something shifted around a situation, a person, a condition. Something happened before that created delays. For a lot of people, there were health things before that were a part of the delays, because Venus, in her detriment, turning retrograde, had impacts of things towards the lungs, the throat, the thyroid, all of this area of how we take in pleasure, kidneys, certain sexual organs. There was a lot of things around Venus turning retrograde that manifested in people's healths. I'm not sugarcoating that. And we've had all this back and forth energy of trying to figure out what something is, but wasn't able to deal with that at the time. There's something that can pick back up from what got triggered in the Venus retrograde. But again, now we're going to be more likely to see a path, a pattern, solutions, treatments, and carrying something forward, but also with some of the baggage, especially if it's more treatment related. Other people, you were trying to get something going, and it was just like energetic delays. No matter what you did, it wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right time. I don't even know why I'm trying right now. And now we're able to pick back up on something from before and take it forward because we don't have the same type of energetic delays. Venus is leaving shadow. So not only do we have Jupiter and Mars in new areas of the sky, now Venus, Mercury, they're all in new areas of the sky. The other thing that starts to happen around the 16th is there's going to be a lot of planets that start to do concurrent flows of energy that will take days to unfold. But I'm putting more focus on their exact points from this forward. So from the 15th to the 19th, we're going to have the Sun conjunct Uranus. It's going to go exact on the 17th. I will show that here in a minute. I just want to give these dates for flows of everything that's going to go together. So that way, as I continue forward, it will make sense. From the 12th, so from the full moon, to the 25th, we're going to have this lingering sextile between Chiron and Jupiter. The wounds, the trauma, the triggers, what's necessary to heal affecting the masses. Again, there can be things towards treatment. Having to constantly update a doctor, a guru, a teacher about a wound, about the condition, about something that has gone wrong. Chiron vibration. In that same time frame, Jupiter will square the nodes. And I'm going to put more emphasis on this later on. I'm going to do some meditative rant videos this month, and one of those is going to have to do with like when a planet squares the nodes, because it's called the bending of the nodes. But when outer planets do it, it's a collective vibration. So it triggers something that impacts the masses for a long period of time. That's why I'm saying that part. Okay. And then the other thing that's going to start to pick up around the 15th, that's going to last until the 25th, is Venus's long-term trine to Mars. It's going to go exact on the 22nd. Where we start the month having taken the heat to a medium, we're going to start to kind of gradually take the heat back up again, because we're trying to get the right consistency. Sometimes whenever we add something to certain sauces, like oh, we put too much water, I got to put in a little bit more cornstarch. I'm trying to get the consistency. That's what this feels like, but it's in life. An energetic consistency, an energetic push, understanding, pattern in the vibration. We're trying to get a consistency in the new normal. That's the best way I can describe it. A lot of cooking analogies this time, guys. I hope everybody knows how to cook. There's going to be some people be like, Dusty, I don't know how to do anything but microwave popcorn. And I don't know how to help you on that one. This is not a cooking show. Okay. So right around that midnight time frame, like I said, Venus is going to leave shadow. Now Venus is in new areas of the sky. On the 17th, we're in this build up towards the Sun-Uranus conjunction. It actually goes exact on the 17th. Anytime the Sun makes a conjunction to Uranus, it is said to be the most shocking day of the year. Given that we're in this, again, this consistency energy that's starting to pick up after the full moon, something tells me that the shock or whatever gets revealed anytime a planet comes into a conjunction with the Sun We can expect something to come to light and get revealed, come to the surface. The thing is, whenever Uranus does it, it's nothing you've anticipated. It's not anything that you had in your mindset. It was not necessarily that's meant to go to plan. Like there's something about it that is just like to your core, very, very shattering, breaking, unintended, unexpected vibration. There is going to be something very shocking that comes through in your personal lives as well as with other people. And I really want people to expect some very unexpected events in a bigger sense around the 17th, because we got two things going on here. One, it is the most shocking day of the year. Hello, Sun. Hello, Uranus. Simultaneously, Mercury is going to square Mars. Right now, Mercury is at 12 degrees, 55 minutes. Mars is at 13:38. This square actually goes exact later in the day, but it's still on the 17th. It's like in the evening time. And I got to be honest, like squares are of the nature of Mars. This is square up bitch energy. Like put up your dukes. We gonna fight. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be some kind of news communication, revealing of something, shockwave of something that creates tension, that creates a frustration, potentially again brings on a fight. Now, I am not saying some warlike thing. That's why I'm saying there's shocking things within the collective, but in the mundane sense, this is a hell of a day for an accident. Maybe not so much a lot of travel on the 17th. I almost said 12th, but no, on the 17th. I wouldn't do that. There can be a lot of things that once they're revealed, it creates tension or frustration. And that's the negative. The more positive is we strike gold, we strike lightning, Sun conjunct Uranus. And it's super exciting. And it's the most exciting thing possible. And because this lightning strike excitement happens, it allows for something else to push a new agenda, push a new incentive, push something new coming through. And that's the more positive vibration whenever Mercury hits the square to Mars. It's just like, we got the funding, we got the approval, we got this thing, and I'm not going to lose a wink of sleep. I'm going right now. Let's go. We're doing it. Yeah. That's what this feels like. Some people are going to land in the middle and they're just going to be in shock and awe that anything is going on, and you're going to be the spectator. Congratulations if you were the spectator. Fixed signs, we are not the spectator. Leo risings, Taurus risings, Aquarius risings, Scorpio risings, we are not the spectator. This hits and it pushes a vibration, it pushes direction, it pushes agendas, it pushes something forward. It can have tension to it. I'm not sugarcoating that, but I'm not going to get stuck on tension, because it can also be the most exciting damn day of the year in this new trajectory, in this new agenda, in this new normal. So there's that. Okay, moving along. All right. This can be, if it's the negative wave, then it's going to be the negative consistency as we progress. If it's the positive vibration, then it's the positive consistency that we're trying to get our sauce to. Pay attention to that part. This time frame makes or breaks how a lot of this energy is going to go. Okay. Now, on the 18th, this is whenever Chiron and Jupiter will hit their exact sextile. This is one of those, again, build up energies. They get about a degree apart on the 12th of May. I don't want to go like the lingering vibration too long of this one. I wanted to go just straight to the exact point. So that's why I gave you the windows when I did. Chiron hitting this sextile to Jupiter. Again, it's how we fix something. It's how we heal. It's how we overcome. Considering this is consistent also with a Moon-Pluto conjunction, there could be something that gets revealed, something that comes to light, something from the past, somebody having something going on in their life, but a past trigger getting brought back up to the surface of just like, oh, I was just so excited. We were jumping around. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you had like some kind of PTSD, like that type of thing. I'm not making fun of anybody with that. I'm just saying, like, your excitement, your way of responding to something might trigger something in someone else in a way that it takes time to voice as to what's going on in their head. And just be aware of that. Now, this is also the same day whenever Jupiter is going to square the nodes. Now, anytime we have a planet square the nodes, it's called the bending of the nodes. And what starts to happen is a lot of their vibration, whatever planet is, in this case, we're talking about Jupiter, but we've had other planets do this in the past, starts to take on and mimic the node that they are now moving towards. And this is going to be Jupiter now moving towards the south node. And that means that for us to have certain gains following Jupiter's square to the nodes, there's also going to be release and purge that's going to strangely be a part of it over the course of the next few years. It's like every time we have a gain, we learn something, we acknowledge something, there's a sacrifice in some way. And considering we're going to have North Node in Pisces until late July of 2026, there's a very big mix in that as to, again, to have the gain, we must sacrifice, we must release, we must let go. And that will become a continuous pattern. And that's about as much as I'm going to say about that for the time being. Okay. On the 20th, it's going to get real interesting. So I'm going to bump this now by hour because we've got a couple things that speaks to, again, the consistency, the trigger of the vibration, how things are flowing. And the first thing that's going to happen, it's going to be in the middle of the night. So we got this roughly at the 3:30 in the morning time frame. Saturn at 29 degrees of Pisces is going to hit a sextile to the sun at 29 degrees of Taurus. We are transitioning something for the long term, and we're in the process of putting something new into place throughout the rest of the month. Please note how I said that. I'm looking at the fact that Saturn, government, laws, elders, rules, authority figures, boundaries, daddy Saturn vibration, is in the mutable sign. The sun is in the fixed sign. But both of them over the course of the next week, the sun this day, Saturn over the course of a week, are going to change signs. The sun will go into a mutable sign, Gemini, and Saturn will go into Aries. So there's something, again, we got a consistency. We're stirring. We're trying to get the right flavor. We're trying to get the right consistency. We're trying to get the right thing going. And there's a very big consistency is the best word I've got. This is the one that keeps ringing true, guys. So I apologize for saying it over and over again. We're in the process of transitioning into a new consistency in regards to responsibility, authority, adaptability, motion, and movement. And that's going to start to come through between the 20th and the 26th. The sun is one element of that. Saturn is the other. The reason I'm saying that is because as the day progresses, the sun is going to go into Gemini. So now I got this at 2:30 in the afternoon. The sun is now in Gemini. The sun has now moved into the mutable sign, the changeable sign, the bridge sign that takes us from one vibration to the next. This actually goes exact at 1:55 p.m., but I just got it at 2:30 because that's close enough. We're in the process of shifting. Now, simultaneously, we have another thing that's going on. It's still in the build-up vibration. It's still in that consistency vibration of dates that I just gave you. And this has to do with Venus and Mars in their long-term trine, but it's going to go exact on the 21st. So we're actually just before, oh no, 21st, 22nd. So we're just after it now. It goes exact in those overnight hours between the 21st and the 22nd. So I'm just, for some of you, it will be the 21st. For others, it'll be the 22nd, but it is what it is. Here's Venus, 16 degrees, 25 minutes. Here's Mars, 16 degrees, 14 minutes. You can see in this 24-hour span, these two planets go through their exact trine. So I'm not going to move this one by hour. Now, trines are triangles. They're of the nature of Saturn. They're consistent, literally. They're meant to be helpful. They're meant to feed each other. They're meant to give a dynamic. Venus is in Mars's sign, and Mars is in the fixed sign of the sun. We are in the vibration of starting a new long-term, consistent flow, vibration, activity. We're in a long-term vibration here. And there is luck, there is aid, there is understanding, there is identification, there is support coming through, even in the adaptation. Now, anytime a planet changes signs, we can usually expect an arrival of some sort. The sun did just change signs as we're going through this Venus Mars trine. So anticipate that something new coming through, that even if it's coming through at an ideal time, in some places it's almost like it's too good to be true, because simultaneous to Venus going through its trine with Mars, Neptune is going to go through a sextile with the sun. Neptune can be lies, the fraud, the deception. There's the negative aspects of that. It can be about vices and addictions. There's another one. Sometimes it's going to have to do with treatments. That's a positive one. Inspiration, beliefs, positivity, fueling forward. The hope with everything else going on being in forward momentum, that it's like, if we have confusion, it's temporary confusion. Let's say we get some kind of new product that we've never put together before, we've never dealt with before, but that doesn't mean that we're going in the wrong direction. It's just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not doing the right thing, because in a lot of ways we are. So again, forward momentum, shift and change, arrival of something new, and there might be a little bit of wonkiness around the new, given Neptune's sextile to the sun, but it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. And considering the moon will also hit a conjunction to Neptune, some people will be kind of, clouded in just being in the vibration. They just like, I'm not pushing for something new in this exact moment. I'm just going to enjoy what I can enjoy. And that's okay too. Okay. Now, as we move forward on the 24th, the sun is going to go through a trine with Pluto. And we are the last 48 hours of Saturn, one of the hosts for Pluto, the last 48 hours of Saturn being in Pisces, simultaneous to whenever the sun goes through a trine with Pluto. This is the same day that Mercury will hit a conjunction to Uranus, the other ruler of Aquarius. So there is an unexpected, exciting, potentially, shift coming through. Unexpected communication, unexpected approvals, unexpected travel. And if you're traveling somewhere, it could be because of a past person or a past situation trying to come back to the forefront. But if that past situation comes back to the forefront, it now creates an awareness of a new authority, a new responsibility, a new part of the vibration. So there's a very dominant gear shift coming through. And considering we just spent the last 2 weeks trying to create a consistency, some of that consistency could be feeding into what this gear is shifting into. But for other people, it'll be something from the past trying to come back around, because again, we have the sun hitting the trine to Pluto and Mercury now hitting this conjunction to Uranus. Uranus is in new areas of the sky. Of course, Uranus is left shadow now. So much of this vibration, again, is speaking to a shift in gears. And as we continue, now I'm going to just bump it by hour. As we continue, Saturn is going to go into Aries. We can have a series of events throughout the day that trigger somebody from the past, that triggers something, gives us some kind of unexpected news, gives us some kind of unexpected information. In some ways, it can be something that kind of like blindsides you. In other ways, it can be, blindsiding to another person that again can shift something in regards to roles, rules, responsibility, because Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius, and Saturn, the traditional ruler of Aquarius, are both at play during this Sun Pluto trine. And it is very likely that a past topic, a past situation, a past decision is coming back around and implanting, making us aware of something in regards to what we're also dealing with in the new normal. Okay. On the 25th, after Mercury goes through its conjunction with Uranus, it is also going to go into Gemini. I'm not going to bump it by hour. I'm just going to go one day to the 25th. After Mercury goes into Gemini, it goes into its own home sign. That's going to be about 8 p.m. on the 25th. And then about an hour later, we go through the exact sextile between Saturn and Mercury. And you can see they're still in the sextile right here. That new vibration, the new that just came through, the new responsibility, the new things around our elders, that new position, the new authority figure has instant, because of the sextile between Saturn and Mercury, has to instantly communicate something, instantly give direction, instantly give new things, instantly travel, instant. We have to do things immediately following the development of whatever has come through between the 23rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, which takes me into the 26th. Over the course of the day, not only will Mercury go through its sextile from Saturn, it'll go through a sextile to Neptune. Now that's going to be exact closer to the afternoon around 3:30. And then by the evening time, we're also going to have a new moon in Gemini. Bump that backwards so you can see it closer to that. So there's the new moon. The new moon goes exact at 10:02 p.m. So this instant vibration, this instant energy, this instant information that can have confusion leading into it, or kind of feeling a little clouded or a little bit foggy. For some people, it's going to be the old situations coming back around. So there can even be that little bit of nostalgia, or going back somewhere from the past, or being called back somewhere from the past that has that hint of nostalgia. But at the same time, I don't know what I'm doing here, so I'm not touching anything. It also triggers something new in the shift, new in the vibration, new in the topics, because not only do we have Mercury in a new sign going through these sextiles at the early decans of a sign, we also have this new moon in Gemini. The next day, Mercury will also go through its trine with Pluto. That's going to happen over the course of the 27th. I've got it still in the evening time on the 27th. So we have this series of events of an old situation again, coming back around, coming back up, old fears, potentially old conversations coming back around, giving some type of results, feedback, information as to what we're about to transition into after creating some kind of new consistency. And then by the time we get to the end of the month on the 29th, we'll go through an actual Mercury Cazimi. This is going to go exact at roughly at about 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Anytime a planet comes into the conjunction with the sun, something gets revealed, something comes to light, something comes into clarity, mental clarity, decisive clarity of how we're going to deal with something, how we're going to handle something, how we're going to continue from the new little things that just got triggered the week before this Mercury Cazimi. The first few days of the month have one energy. The 10th, 12th has its own. From basically the 13th all the way until the 23rd time frame, it's got Again, we're trying to build a consistency. We're trying to build a flow. We're trying to get something going. We're trying to stay on top of something. And this is how the work goes now. This is how the plan goes now. This is where I'm going now. This is what I do each day. That type of vibration. And then when we get to the end of the month, new triggers per se. It's more likely to be some old conversations, old situations kind of coming back up to the surface, but with a new dynamic because we don't support them the same way and they don't support us the same way. For some of you, there's going to be a new form of crazy that really starts to come through by the end of May going into June. Now, we are still in full steam ahead momentum. I meant that. I'm serious about it. But even if we're full steam ahead, there's going to be some people that they have that human effect of coming back around. They need closure. They need to know something. They need to understand something. They need to be taught something. And that can always happen. You can have the one or two things from the past come back up even while you're still full steam ahead. It doesn't always have to be heavy. It can just be enlightening. It can be how we heal something. It can be how we let go. It can be how we help other people let go. We're trying to build a consistent flow. Think of those montage movies. The movies like from the 80s, whenever they want to go change an entire area, they do a montage, like a 3-minute segue of what it took, 6 weeks to completely revamp this bar, redo this space, redo this area. And you land at the end of the montage in the new, arena, in the new finished product. We had to build a consistency around things. We had to do all of this work. And then once we land in the new place, finished product, other things start popping up again. Life kicks back in again. Not saying that life wasn't there before. It was just we were so focused before that we didn't return anybody's phone call. We didn't look at those text messages. We weren't thinking about those in the same way. And then by the end of the month, something is going to kind of pop up that almost like pulls us out of the montage energy. And that's what that consistency feels like in the middle of the month. And then it's like something that kind of snaps our focus back. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go backwards. We're not. I'm saying that there's potential of things from the past finding its way back forward. And just because you don't support someone the same way doesn't mean that they don't want to be a part of something. And what I now think about is like, if you told your old business partner this idea and they didn't go for it, then you guys had a falling out. But now they're trying to come back around and you've done additional work, filed new LLCs, did all this extra stuff in a whole extra way, but now they're trying to come back going, oh, I want to be a part of this now. No thanks. And it can be as simple as that, or it can lead into other vibration, other tensions. And Saturn's arrival, because Saturn and Sun, their arrival at the end of the month, they're so consistent with each other of going into new signs. Those planets, there are arrivals of new topics, new ideas, new contracts, new legal things, Saturn stuff, new checks to the ego, new responsibilities. There's a arrival of new things, but it's feeding off of everything we've built up until then. And for some people, Saturn's arrival is going to be putting the sign on the door and letting everybody know, Sun and Gemini, we're open for business. It's going to be great. This is the new thing. Come see us. And it's got a lot of potential to it. With the little aspects of Pluto, though, there can be some old stuff too. Hopefully it's just one or two old people coming back around to see the work that you've done and congratulate you. And some of you, it will be the most mundane thing. It will be that blast from the past, somebody that didn't agree with you before. Now they're seeing the work and they're like, good on you, babe. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. Do your thing. Others are going to be petty, catty, and jealous. Expect it all. but don't let their opinion, don't let their frustration hold you back. Stay focused on the forward motion, even in those little moments at the end of the month that can be very triggering. Okay. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for those that have subscribed. Thanks for those that have been listening to me for a very, very long time. There's a lot of momentum again that's going to be coming through the month of May, and I am ready for it. I hope you are too. Keep me posted on everything going on, and I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.